Oh, ready? Okay, so hot mic. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. We will call this meeting to order. It is Wednesday, July 16th, 2025, and this is Ava Community Energy. If you are in the right or wrong place, we are here in the Rotunda building of Oakland. I did want to just appreciate everyone's flexibility while Ava headquarters is being updated over the August recess. So with that, welcome. And can we proceed to roll call, please?
Thank you. Alameda County.
Present.
Albany.
Present.
Berkeley.
Present.
Dublin.
Present.
Emeryville. Fremont.
Present.
It's in Emeryville?
No, that was Fremont.
Fremont.
Great, thank you. Hayward.
Present.
Lathrop. Livermore. Newark.
Present.
Oakland.
Present.
San Joaquin County. San Leandro.
Present.
Stockton. Tracy. Union City.
Here.
Community Advisory Committee. Community Advisory Committee.
Present.
Thank you. Piedmont. Pleasanton.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much, everyone. And again, thank you very much for the flexibility on the location. We do have a flag in the corner, so we're going to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, please, if you are able. And Mayor Gonzalez, will you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We're going to proceed to item number 3, which is public comment. This item is reserved for persons wishing to address the board on any AVA-related matter that is not otherwise listed on the meeting agenda. Public comment for items that are listed on the agenda are asked to be held until that item is called. If you would like to address the board, we ask that you complete the electronic speaker slip, and we will have time at 2 minutes. So if you would like to address the board at this time, please approach the podium if you are in the room. Seeing none, online, virtual.
Great, thank you. We have 2 hands raised. Jim Lutz, recognized for 2 minutes.
Yeah, this is Jim Lutz. I'm a member of the Community Advisory Committee, but tonight I'm speaking only for myself. And I've been trying to think strategically about what the future might bring for AVA since joining the CAC. And I attended the presentation of the Local Development and Customer Program Strategic Roadmap Development Overview at the recent executive committee, and it was presented again at the CAC on Monday. As I see it, there are 2 key decade-long trends that will destroy AVA unless they are addressed seriously. The first is that PG&E is not a friend of CCAs and will keep increasing rates on your constituents. The second is the prices for solar, wind, and batteries have been declining dramatically for decades, and there's every indication that this trend will continue. There's a nice summary of that. It's well documented, but there's a nice summary, a recent article in the New Yorker by Bill McKibben. Those declining prices are good for consumers and good for the climate, but they're bad for AVA's business model. So I strongly encourage AVA to carefully consider strategic long-term planning and to involve labor, environmental advocates, and community-based organizations that drove the creation of EBCE and now AVA in any strategic planning process, and to call upon those same organizations for defense from PG&E. Thank you.
Ayla Paz, recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Adrian, and
I just also wanted to echo, this is Ayla Paz with the Local Clean Energy Alliance. I wanted to echo a lot of what Jim said in his public comment. The Local Clean Energy Alliance really appreciates the effort that staff has put into developing this strategic roadmap for the LDBP, but we're really concerned by the limited scope and structure of this current approach. The fact that the roadmap narrows the focus of the LDBP just to customer programming and electrification at the expense of its broader goals of investment. And we're concerned with that right now, AVA really needs to be ambitious and expansive with the local development business plan. As you know, AVA could be investing in increasing local solar electricity to offset increased demand from electrification. There could be a lot more investment in resilient sources of electricity instead of depending on long distance transmission, as we've seen that this is actually becoming less and less of a viable approach. The main concern I want to uplift is that the roadmap completely does not address growing and political threats on the state and federal levels. We see that with the PCIA. We see that with Trump really slashing a lot of investments in clean energy. AVA really needs to step it up and develop political strategies, litigation, ratepayer advocacy in order to protect itself and other CCAs in California. And another troubling aspect is the roadmap's timeline and process. There's no community engagement throughout. Community engagement is at the final stages of the plan. And I wanted to highlight that on Monday, the CAC offered itself as a source of wisdom for this RFP process and for this roadmap. And AVA should be looking to that for their.
Thank you. Alita Dupree, recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you. Good afternoon to the chair. Alita Dupree, for the record, she and her with Team Folds. It's been a while since I've been with you. I'm not able to make it in person from my temporary residence in Emeryville. But I'm very appreciative of the work that you're doing at AVA Energy to help to bring us the very best in electricity product for people like myself to enjoy. That being said, there's a lot of work to do. I do like seeing more acquisition of renewable resources. I would like to see us exceed goals that we have set in the various charts. I am reading about more jurisdictions that are opting into Renewable 100. And I hope that customers will stay with Renewable 100. As I look at, in certain months, a lot of curtailment of renewables that's happening throughout the state. Such can be found deep in the website of the California Independent System Operator. Electricity that is even going negative. How do we get that? How do we store that? Keep those renewable energy credits and have that power available when we need it. Because that's energy that could be used by us. So it is your power as a board and as an agency to look for new opportunities. I believe that the rest of the country can learn from the work that we're doing in here. That's one reason why I enjoy coming to your meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no further hands raised at this time.
And just checking that we have no public comment at any remote location at this time. Okay, seeing none, we'll be closing item 3, public comment. Appreciate all that feedback and information. We'll take into consideration. We're going to proceed to the consent agenda. This is items 4 through 10 on the published agenda. Are there any questions by any member in the room related to consent agenda 4 through 10 at this time? Seeing no questions, are there any questions by any members online for the consent agenda item 4 through 10 at this time? Seeing none, we'll go to public comment. Are there any public comment on any of the consent items? If you're in the room and would like to speak on consent, please approach the podium. Seeing none, going to online for consent 4 through 10.
There are no hands raised at this time.
And then at any remote location? Seeing none, closing public comment on consent, bringing it back to the board. Does CAC have any comments on any of the consent items at this time?
No, we don't.
Okay, thank you. Any comments by any board members or motion? Yes, Berkeley.
Thank you. I'm going to be recusing myself on consent item 6 as a result of a professional engagement I have with the vendor, although it's not on this specific item under review. Out of an abundance of caution, I wish to recuse myself.
All right, thank you. Okay, we'll take it as a separate motion. Sounds good. Thank you. We'll bifurcate. And so we have a motion to approve items 4. Oh, sorry. We'll take 6 first. Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion on item 6 right now. A second. Any comment before we take a roll call vote?
The first and second, please.
We are, sorry, Marquez from Alameda County, and then seconded by San Leandro.
Thank you.
A motion made and seconded, no comment. Roll call vote, please.
Thank you very much.
Only item 6. just
Yes,
so-
only item 6. Alameda County.
Aye.
Albany.
Yep.
Dublin. Aye. Emeryville.
Aye.
Fremont.
Aye.
Hayward.
Yes.
Newark.
Aye.
Oakland.
Aye.
San Leandro.
Aye.
Hold on 1 second. Stockton. Tracy, Union City. Oh, Tracy, thank you. Oh, thank you. Can we record that? Thank you. Piedmont, Pleasanton.
I'm sorry, did you get
Oh,
Union City?
Union City, yes. Union City and Pleasanton.
Aye.
Thank you. The consent calendar is approved. Or
No.
item 6 is approved.
Thank you very much. No worries. New location. We're working through it. Okay, so that leaves items 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. Do I have a motion or any comments?
So
Moved by Alameda, seconded by Berkeley. Any further comments before we take a roll call vote? Seeing none, roll call vote, please. 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Great, thank you. Alameda County,
Aye.
Albany,
Yep.
Berkeley,
Aye.
Dublin. Aye. Emeryville. Emeryville? Thank
Aye.
you. Fremont,
Aye.
Hayward,
Aye.
Newark,
Aye.
Oakland,
Aye.
San Joaquin County, San Leandro,
Aye.
Tracy,
Aye.
Union City,
Aye.
Pleasanton.
Aye.
The consent calendar is approved.
Thank you very much. Okay, that completes all items on consent. We're going to be proceeding to the regular agenda. And with that, we'll begin with item number 11, the CEO report, please.
All right, Adrian, if you can pull that up. First, I'll just start by reiterating the meeting space changes. As Chair Balch has already noted, we're obviously in a rotunda, which is not our typical space. For the next 2 months, our staff has gone remote as we're doing some tenant improvements in our typical meeting space. So apologies for the inconvenience. I will make sure to highlight our kind of rotating spaces that we're using as backup spaces as interim period. I know that's an inconvenience, and apologies, as I know it's hard to keep track. But given the different sizes of the various board or subcommittees that are meeting, we're finding the most appropriate space. I expect this tenant improvements to go for the next 2 months. So it's impacting tonight's meeting, the next couple of meetings, and then the early meetings in September, but our full board meeting. Oh, okay. I'll deal with that in a minute. Excuse me.
Without construction delays, we hope to be back by September.
That's right. Fingers crossed. I think the improvements that we're doing are modest. They're included under our lease, so they're covered. But we will, of course, keep the board updated if there's a need for a change to any of the other plans in the future. With that said, jumping right into our CEO report, we had our last XCOM meeting on July 2nd. I will note the notes following that are off. They were actually from the meeting in June. Unfortunately, we lost quorum for the July XCOM meeting. And so we informally spoke to the local development roadmap and local development customer programs roadmap to the public and those in the board that were available. So very on an informal ad hoc basis. The next meeting will be on September 3rd at 3:30. That will be in the Rotunda building. So that is the space that we're in right now. The Marketing Regulatory Legislative Subcommittee meeting was supposed to be on June 20th. That was canceled due to lack of quorum. That's been rescheduled. So we actually have one additional meeting in July. That's on Monday, July 21st at 3:30 to redo that meeting. That's technically a special meeting as a result of that. And that's going to be actually at the Port Spaces, the third floor, the large conference room at 344 20th Street in Oakland, California. So that happens to be a co-working space that's literally across the street from our typical office space for those that are familiar with going into our office. Next, the Finance, Administrative, and Procurement Subcommittee meeting. That was last held on July 9th. We reviewed a few items that were on consent, our annual audit process. We reviewed the Q3 draft financial statements, quarterly financial statements. We reviewed the energy risk management policy and then the compliance period procurement methodology, which is an action item for this evening's regular agenda. The next meeting will be on September 8th at the Rotunda building, which we're in. And I'll read the address for good safekeeping. It's 300 Frank Ogawa Plaza, Oakland, California, 94612. Next, a couple of new employees continue to grow a little bit. We welcomed Aaron Crossman, who's our new Salesforce director. So really excited to have him join us. He's going to help us continue to implement some of the different local development related and customer related programs. And as we use Salesforce as sort of a backbone for that customer engagement, he comes in with significant expertise in the IT and Salesforce realm. We've also welcomed Stacy Orr. She is our new marketing campaign manager. She also joined in June. She's going to be supporting a lot of those programs from a marketing perspective, separate from the Salesforce technology side of things. And she comes from a number of years in a ed tech space. So really excited to have those two new employees join us. Next, I wanted to highlight that we launched the Ava Bike Electric program. So we did that last week. Definitely worthy of a round of applause. This program has been many years in the making. We even pivoted a little bit. Some of the board members here were present, of course, but about a year ago, we restructured the program, which originally had a lending library and a rebate program. Due to some complications and challenges there, I think we learned from our ambitious plans and took a step back and said, let's really focus this as a rebate incentive program and move to launch this. And this is one of the largest in the country. I believe it's the third that we've tracked, the third largest in the country, and certainly one of the largest in California as a result of that as well. So really excited. It's a total $10 million program. We, Ava funded $6 million, while the Alameda County Transportation Commission funded $4 million. We think this will bring a lot of benefits around reducing traffic congestion, improving health, and hopefully can help financially as people consider other means of transportation as well as substitutes. So really excited about this program. We're looking to offer an estimate between 8,200 and 9,200 incentives in total. And those incentives range from $400 to $1,500. So there's different tiers, both for standard incentives and then income qualified incentives. And for depending on the type of bike that one is purchasing, a standard bike versus a cargo bike. So it's a fairly sizable incentive, and for income qualified, it can be very significant in potentially covering the full cost. But of course, that depends on the model that one receives. For the income qualified participants, we also have a $250 safety equipment rebate. So we just launched that, but we're getting great press, a lot of excitement, a lot of media coverage on it. I've just been getting tons and tons of kudos from people that are hearing about the program. So a lot of excitement. I think we're able to both highlight some of the electrification products and benefits that we can offer to our customers in a really tangible way with products that they're really excited by. So I think it's a great way to continue to sort of highlight our brand and make people more aware of Ava Community Energy. I'll note here, it says as of July 10th, over 600 people applied to the program, and it's structured as a monthly random drawing as opposed to a first come, first serve program. That is very intentional. It does increase the complexity significantly of how we launch the program. We're still on Ava Bike Electric, which is on an earlier page right here. Sorry, right before the joint rate mailer, Adrian. Yeah. You just stay there. It is a more complex structure for launching this program, but we feel like it's a better way to engage customers with potentially a new product. So it's not just those that are really informed about e-bikes ready to purchase, but rather spacing it out over the course of a year plus time frame to sort of allot certain rebates over time. And that will allow for people to evaluate what is a pretty meaningful purchase, make a decision to purchase, submit for a rebate, hopefully get the rebate, and of course, then make that purchase. We are specifically doing this through local bike shops. We want to support local businesses. And there's a pretty long list of eligible e-bike models that one can pursue with this rebate. I will note that as of today, we have 5,700 applicants in the program. So in less than a week, we've grown from 600 people to 5,700. So there's a lot of interest and excitement in this. So really excited to see how this continues. Last note, unfortunately, AVA employees, members, alternates of our board, and CAC are not eligible for the program, nor are your family members, because this is structured as sort of a lottery, randomized drawing program. There's a conflict there. So unfortunately, that's not possible, but they are great products. So I encourage everyone to nonetheless consider a purchase. I will move on. The next item is the joint rate mailer. So you can scroll a little bit there, Adrian. A little blurb there, and then a couple excerpts. This is a compliance-related typical mailer that we send every single year to highlight rates and power content between us and PG&E. This is for the calendar year 2024. We have mailed over 130,000 postcards, and we sent 645,000 emails. So this goes out to all of our customers, and you can see the excerpt on the next slide, Adrian, if you want to scroll a little bit more. Both sides of the excerpt. Adrian, if you can scroll a little bit more on that, that'd be great. Yeah, a little further, and we can, I know that's a little bit, you can stay right there. I know it's a little bit of an eye chart, so it's hard to read. We have covered this in various aspects in a few different presentations, just showing our power content label relative to PG&E. Of course, this is available on our website for further review, but that just went out. Next item, I'll talk about our Fremont default product transition to Renewable 100. This is an item we've talked about a number of times over the last few months as we're gearing up for that. It's going to be in August. So this will really be the last kind of meaningful preview of this process before moving forward with the enrollment transition of those customers. I think we've been very engaged with the city of Fremont. They have been very engaged as well to ensure that their customers and community members are as aware of this as possible, getting the information out so they know that there's going to be a change in their electricity product that they're defaulted into. I would say generally in good news, we've seen a pretty meaningful percentage opt down. So over 8% of customers are actively saying, I'm aware of this, I'm informed, I'm making a decision to opt down. I think that's a really good sign of customers being aware of what's happening. Of course, we'd like to see that awareness grow, and I think we're doing everything we can between AVA staff and the city of Fremont staff as well to make sure people are well aware of that change. And then the last thing here is just AVA in the community. As we typically do, we list a whole bunch of upcoming events. It's a long list here, as summer can be pretty active, and we continue to just sort of spread the word about AVA, inform our customers, and try to attend some of these meaningful events. I won't read through all of them, of course, but we're sprinkled throughout our territory. And that is it.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So are there any questions by any members in the room related to item 11, the CEO report? Hayward.
Thanks, Anu. Thank you. So I was curious about the bike program. I know we've been talking about it for a while, but as far as allocation throughout the district goes, is that part of the complication about how the vouchers are going out? So like if 9,000 people from Oakland applied, would they get the vouchers first? Or will it be spread purposely through the district, through the service territory?
I don't think there's a prioritization there, but I'll let Annie address any issues there. I think it's really about submitting into there, and it is a randomized drawing. And so there isn't, Oakland gets a greater allotment
Okay.
of the funding or anything. And I do want to be clear that because this includes funding from ACTC, City of Alameda, which is not actually a member to AVA, is also
Is also
eligible there.
part
So
of
we
it.
had,
Okay.
that added to the complexity. If we actually had to build a program that considered customers that are not our customers.
Okay.
So all customers in Alameda County need to be eligible.
So it's a
and
lottery.
All AVA customers who are also in San Joaquin County, of course, are also eligible there.
Okay.
But there isn't a priority allotment. per se.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, and I'm glad, Ava will be at the Hayward Street Party tomorrow. Will they be talking about the program at the street party table tomorrow?
Of course. I mean, we're spreading the word on all of our
Good.
programs, and this is certainly
Okay.
one that I think naturally gets people excited and engaged.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I will just note, we did a very light touch on marketing. So we did share materials with the municipal staff, as well as our community partners like Bike East Bay. With the bike shops, we did social media, but we didn't do like a direct email to all of our customers. So we've
Okay.
had a fairly light touch. So what we will do is track where those applications are from. And if we see a disproportionate balance, we can increase our outreach in other areas to make sure that there is awareness and opportunity for those customers.
That would be great because Hayward, unfortunately, we lost our last bike shop, so we don't even have one. So I think there's a concern that that where they get their bike will be a disparity
Yeah.
from the rest of the district. So thank you.
I will note there are 20 eligible participating bike shops spread throughout our territory. We hope that number grows. Is it
24.
24 now? It's
Thank you.
growing right before our eyes. And the reason why we did that is obviously we do want to support local businesses, but we also think it's important that people can go check out the bikes, particularly for
Yeah.
newer evaluators of it, and can also know where their local bike shop is so that they can get maintenance on it if they
Yeah.
run into an issue with performance or anything like that.
Yeah, and I appreciate Andy's comments about like monitoring it and what it might look like. So thank you. Thank you. That's all.
Okay. Dublin, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Executive Chang, just a couple of clarifying questions, if I may. One is on the joint rate, and then the other one is on the bike. I'll tackle the easy one first on the joint rate mailers. Amazing numbers, getting them out there. I also noted that the comment was that few customers contacted AVA with questions, somewhat subjective. So few as in, we didn't see an increase in the number of questions and inquiries that came in. And of those that did come in, were they informative? Were they useful? Were people more just asking like, hey, are we going the right direction? Like, can you give us just a sense of the questions that came out of the flyer?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say as a high note, and I'll maybe ask Andy to elaborate a little bit, is that this is a fairly boilerplate mailer, and it comes every year. So we don't tend to get a lot of uptick in call volume and things like that for these types of mailers. Unfortunately, they're not the items that necessarily get the most engagement per se, on the one hand. And on the other hand, I would say it's become sort of routine a little bit. So there's not too much that we sort of read from that, I think.
Yeah, I've seen some report outs from our call center in terms of the categorization of calls that we're getting, and we have a lot going on right now. So it's a much higher volume from residents of Fremont who just received the notices about the Renewable 100 default change, as well as Stockton and Lathrop as they get their first, second, third bill and start to notice that there's a different line item on there. So the number of calls from the joint rate mailer are pretty small.
I'll also say that generally speaking, we get calls with very pointed questions about, say, so bills or programs or unhappy with something. And joint rate mailers shows that we have significantly greener content and we're a lower rate in general. So I think people like that, but they don't necessarily seek to take action and call per se.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Where I was headed with the question was, are we educating our populace to the point where they're okay with what we're putting in front of them? Right? Is our education working? And mailers being one of them. So generally speaking, would you concur that our education is working? So and a byproduct of that is we're not getting a lot of calls?
I mean, I think it's complicated. I think it's hard to engage with customers in general. And so we do a lot to raise awareness of our agency, of our brand, around educating on electricity bills, and some of these complex matters. I think this is one avenue that we try to get in front of customers on a consistent basis. It is a compliance required mailer. So, you know, a lot of people take their mail, maybe toss it into their recycling bin when they get these types of mailers. So I don't think we see this as this is the best form of engagement with our customers. This is us meeting a compliance obligation with very important information. But, we want to find other ways to get our customers to say, who's Ava? Like, let me go check them out. Let me check out their website and all they have to offer. This type of information is on there. There's probably more effective means to really try to educate and engage. And this is not the primary means.
Sure. Okay, I'll move on. So I'll move on back to the bike topic. If I may ask, coming along with the vouchers, do we also provide, let's call it checks and balances on the type of bike that is being requested? Because, right, there's certain age, let's call it constraints. Like a 12-year-old may not be able to get like a Type 3 bike because it's too fast for them. So are we also crossing that as part of our due process?
You want to address that?
Sure. So you have to be 18 to receive the incentive. So there's an age limit. And then we also have a list of eligible equipment. So only certain bikes and not the ones that go over, I think, what is it? 18 miles per hour, 20 miles per hour. But we do have a specific list because there is quite a variability in the quality of the product that's out there, which is another reason why we're also directing people to the local bike shops where they have a higher quality bike and ongoing availability to provide the service and maintenance that's required.
Okay. Thank you. That answered my question.
I will say, I think actually a Class 3 bike is available, which is 28. It's on the list, some of the cargos. Berkeley, yeah, questions?
Thank you. It was going to be a comment, but I'm going to phrase it as a question.
Good job.
And thank you for the comprehensive report, as always. Are there any plans to participate in any of the Sun Day events on Sunday, September 21st? And in particular, I wanted to see if there might be interest in participating in Berkeley's as one of them in Willard Park.
But I'm going to defer to Annie on answering that very specific question, but I did also want to note, because I know various board members have asked about certain events within their territory, whether we can cover that, whether we could sponsor it, whether we can booth it specifically. On the earlier question, it's a great way to engage with customers face to face, answer questions that they may have, just raise their awareness about AVA. And we have a pretty good organized rubric for how we approach participating in events. As you can imagine, there are far too many for us to actually participate in all of them through our territory. That's great news because there's a lot of great local events that one can attend. And we try to be pretty disciplined about where we put those dollars and where we put our people resources there. And we try to think about what is the attendance, what's the alignment with anything energy related, what is generally the engagement of discussion as we've tracked data at every single event we go to know how many people we talk to, what types of topics. So in general, we try to be really rigorous. That's not to say that there's room for improvement. And I think this is one of those areas we may want to engage more with the board just to make sure that we can also continue to evolve that process and make sure it's as efficient as possible. With that, I may ask Andy to comment specifically on that event if you know off the top of your head. We may have
I don't know specifically whether or not we intend to be at that. I can look into it and get back to you. But I'll just echo what Howard said, which is, we are being thoughtful about where we assign our resources. There are so many events and we really want to select the ones that are going to sort of result in the best customer engagement.
I'll just mention that when the sun comes out in your territory over the hill, there's no such thing as a Sunday. They're all Sundays. Yeah. Tracy.
Yes.
That is some serious shade.
Tracy's up next.
Thank you, Chair. I just had a question on the bikes. Are we also including helmets with these bikes?
For low income qualified customers, there's a
Awesome.
$250 voucher that covers lights, bike, lock, all that type of equipment. For the standard, we have not included that, but obviously the incentive is significant.
And how many, your Round-M lottery, how many lottery tickets are you going to poll each month?
Perfect question.
About 600 per month, totaling that 8,200 to 9,200 over the course of, I think this is intended to go to September of next year. So 600 a month. We noted here, I think it's the fourth Tuesday of every month, we'll do that drawing. If customers don't get pulled, they are automatically submitted for, I think, 2 additional months. And if they still are not drawn, then you do have to take action to resubmit additionally into that lottery, that drawing
So if they're not called in that 3-month period, then they have to resubmit.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, any additional questions? Yes, Alvin.
Thank you for your presentation highlights. I want to focus on the e-bike voucher program, and I don't want to labor you with trying to be the vanguard of social justice in this moment. Will just preface it with saying what I'm about to say. It's obviously this came about in a previous iteration before I served on AVA. And had I been on, it probably would have reached the surface here. But I am curious if there was ever any dialogue or interaction with one of the largest landlords in the East Bay, UC Berkeley. Particularly because several thousand of my constituents in Albany and where I live in the UC Village, on an income basis, probably would have qualified for income qualified vouchers, similar to what we've seen in Contra Costa County several years ago for a similar program. But because it requires enrollment with PG&E program, they wouldn't be able to qualify. And unfortunately, several thousand folks in a city as small as Albany is not an insignificant number of constituents who are just continually disenfranchised from opportunities and access to resources and programs like this. It's a wonderful program. I'm not trying to throw any shade. Don't worry, Berkeley. I love the program and I love what it's likely going to produce and provide for many folks who need this. I benefited from a very similar program years ago. It allowed me to commute from my previous residence in Richmond, California to UC Berkeley daily instead of using my car. So I see the value in it, and that's why I'm raising the issue and raising the topic. Again, I'm not looking for anyone to be the vanguard of social justice in this moment, but I am curious if there was any conversation with UC Berkeley and other institutions and entities that house folks that fall into this category of likely very low income, particularly student parents. And if so, where did those conversations go, or was that just something that just happened to be a blind spot, unfortunately?
I don't know that there was any direct dialogue with UC Berkeley on this. And it may be worth following up online just to really understand maybe what may be of interest there. But customers within Albany are eligible to participate if they're at UC Berkeley housing, and there is a income qualified designation for, I think it's 40% of the overall funding is towards income qualified. So they're eligible for the program, but there is not any specific different eligibility speaking to UC Berkeley students or anything like that.
Could you maybe, could you clarify for us, because when San Joaquin County came on, that's because ACTC wasn't a member. Maybe that's, I think, a distinction of why, because they have to be an AVA customer in San Joaquin County, but not in.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're in Alameda County, if you're a resident of Alameda County, you're eligible for this, whether you're an AVA customer or not. Yeah. So
because of the ACTC.
Exactly. In San Joaquin County, you need to be an AVA customer in order to participate in this program.
I appreciate that clarification. Yeah, reading the income qualifications on the website, it's not entirely clear. It reads that someone has to be enrolled in a specific program within PG&E to qualify.
Got it. So let me clarify that particular point. The income qualified programs, CARE and FARA, are programs that our customers are eligible for in the same way that PG&E customers are eligible for. And then the city of Alameda, their municipal power provider, Alameda Municipal Power, AMP, also has their own income qualifier program called the Energy Assistance Program. So any income qualified sort of electricity bill customer within our overall qualified customer can participate in this. So there's not a distinction or carve out there.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I'll follow up a bit more offline with it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any additional questions by members in the room related to the CEO report?
So just one quick question on that last piece. So just hypothetically, 600 people apply, none of them are income qualified. Does that mean that we won't draw any that month, or that we'll just kind of keep drawing until we reach the end of life of the program and then make a decision about what to do with that 40% extra funds if we never had any income qualified?
We have a specific allotment for income qualified, which is 40%. I don't know from an operational parameter if it's per month, we want 40% per month. And so if you don't hit that level, I think it's for that month, if there happened to be no income qualified, we would give 600 for non-income qualified. And then at the end, you would have extra funds there. And we would need to discuss if for some reason that didn't get called upon, whether we would just keep the program open for longer or do something else.
Yeah, I can verify if each monthly, assuming we have more than would fill the bucket, I can check if it is an allocation. But certainly that is something we're going to monitor. And if we don't see sort of a full subscription under the income qualified, we can come back and talk about how we'll be able to tweak the program to increase that participation rate.
Okay. Any comments or questions by members online at this time? Okay, seeing none. Public comment. If you'd like to public comment on item number 11 and you're in the room, please approach the podium at this time. I'm going to try to speed up in light of the agenda. I just realized the items too. Seeing none online, any public comment for item number 11?
Yes, Alita Dupree, recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you again to the chair, Alita Dupree, for the record, she and her with Team Folds. Thank you. I'm very appreciative of Howard's meaningful and helpful report. I want to let you know as a bit of housekeeping, when this file was prepared, the charts with the power content are a little bit blurry. So I want to try to fix that. I'm impressed with our performance with what we're doing with the Bright Choice power content. Our nuclear component is only at 0.5%, and our unspecified is only at 4%. So we are running a very, very clean power mix. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the number will be of the, I guess it's the grams or kilograms per megawatt hour. They give us a very low number. So it shows that our team is working very hard at procuring clean power. That being said, there's more to do. I'm not against large hydro on its face. I'd rather have large hydro than power that comes from fossil fuels. But we want to continue to increase the renewable component because if we have a bad water year, we may be constrained with our large hydro. So we'll keep on that. And I think we're doing very well with how we're managing this e-bike program. I support the lottery aspects of it because we don't want a situation where some are advantaged in getting to you first because maybe they have computer advantages or they can stay up waiting for the page to refresh. Hopefully we can get a lot of e-bikes out on the street. They're better than gas burning cars. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no further hands raised at this time.
Okay, any public comment at any remote location? Hearing none, we'll close public comment on item number 11. Any comments before we move on to the next item? I'll mention that I bought an e-bike and the material was out, and then Annie informed me that board members are not applicable to the rebate. I still acquired the bike. Okay, thank you very much. We'll proceed to item number 12, the CAC report at this time. Welcome and please.
Hello, Mickey Souza. I'm the vice chair for the CAC. Wish Ed was here instead of me, but here I am. We spent the majority of the meeting on Monday talking about local development, and our ad hoc is specifically geared towards that. There's 2 ad hocs. One is the local development business plan, and the second one is resilience in bills. We're trying to lower the cost of electricity. So that said, there is an amazing and a large staff. Thank you, Annie, for giving us your presentation for local development, and it supplants the original staff and consultants that began Ava Community Energy back in 2017, 2018, where there was a huge number of wonderful ideas and projects that went on, many of which went on to fruition. We really, really appreciate that. What the CAC is trying to do now is to be proactive and to offer ourselves as consultants in technological and also community. Of course, we're community focused. That's why they call it the Community Advisory Committee. And so we're in very good stead with the community and other organizations, and we listen to them, and we can be their voice. So that said, we're willing and really want to help with the local development plan. As you heard Jim Lett said earlier, he said that PG&E is not our friend. We feel that the PCIA adjustments are attacking us. It's potentially attacking all CACs. And this is a direct affront from PG&E. Also, the transmission and distribution costs have risen disproportionately in comparison with generation costs. And this is why customers are suffering. And they're angry and they're upset and they want to leave PG&E along with AVA Community Energy behind. And the next step would be for them to disengage, to go off the grid. And that's a danger to AVA Community Energy. So that said, we would really like to engage prior to any decisions being made specifically about specialists or consultants and help that selection criteria. And we would suggest opening up community engagement again prior to making decisions where the CAC and appropriate community consultants can be engaged and assist in community-centered and AVA health direction. And thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions of the CAC report, item 12, by any members in the room at this time? Seeing none, any questions by any members online at this time related to item 12? Okay, seeing none. Are there any public comments on the CAC report from members in the room? Yes, please approach the podium. And we'll put up 2 minutes, please, Adrian. Welcome. Yep, go ahead. We hope the mic works. I think it's the other one there. Just this one? Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Cynthia Landry, and tonight I'm speaking as a member of the public. Back in, I believe, 2017 or 2018, there was an extensive consultant report done regarding the local development business plan and, you know, what the plan should look like. And when there was the conversion from East Bay Community Energy to AVA, that some of those documents didn't go over. And in my humble opinion, I would consider that to be a foundational document, because I think the input, there was a lot of input in that consultant report. And I would like to, I know it, you know, takes staff time to do this, but I would like to request that some of those foundational documents relative to the local business plan be moved over so that folks can, you know, the public can see the documents, because I would think that we would want to look at what we've actually accomplished, and there might be metrics that we can look at to see where we've been and where we are going. So so that's my comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public in the room who would like to address the board at this time? Please approach the podium. Seeing none, we'll go to online. Any comments related to item 12, the CAC report?
There are no hands raised at this time.
Okay. Any remote location? Seeing none, we'll close public comment and bring it back to the board for any comments on item 12. Online. Seeing none. Okay, we'll complete item 12. Thank you very much, CAC. With that, we're going to proceed to item number 13, compliance period procurement methodology. This is an action item, and I believe Izzy's reporting. She helped me find the location, so.
All right, you want to hear me all right? All right, so I'm Izzy Carson. I sit on the Power Resources team at AVA. I manage the carbon-free and REC portfolio, and I'm going to be talking through compliance period procurement methodology with you guys. So next slide. All right, so we've discussed the implementation of a multi-year procurement period for determining compliance to our voluntary clean energy procurement targets previously. The board preliminarily approved this concept in the recent 2025-2026 budget. And this presentation was also provided implementation details to the FAP subcommittee last week on July 9th. So we'll review some procurement challenges, compliance period methodology that already exists with the RPS program and that we already comply with, some benefits in having a compliance period, and finally, a couple of scenarios for consideration. Next slide. So this visual on the right is really for illustrative purposes only, but it's intended to reflect the band between minimum and maximum generation that we can expect from projects in our portfolio over time. So guaranteed energy production, or GEP, is the minimum that a project is contractually allowed to deliver. Expected energy, or EE, is the maximum possible expected. So you'll see on the left there, the band between those two is really very small, and you can see over time it gets larger. GEP is a term that's included in AVA's pro forma. Is really defined as the expected energy that's multiplied by a specific percentage that's based on technology. So, for example, there we have 85% solar or 75% for wind. That's obviously not inclusive of all technologies. You know, geothermal, for example, is 90%. Those are two of the most common. But for example, if we had a resource in our portfolio that was a solar resource that was expected to deliver 100,000 megawatt hours over the course of a particular calendar year, the GEP for that same resource would be at 85,000 for that same year. So the range that project could deliver would be anywhere between 85,000 to 100,000 megawatt hours based on that band. So when there's only a couple of projects that band between the min and max is manageable, again, that's like the left side of that visual, where they're very close. But over time, and as AVA enters into more long-term PPAs that are contingent and from variable resources, that wider that band and the greater potential for over or under procurement, really. And so that's what we see as we move from left to right. That's kind of more projects in our portfolio over time, and that band is increasing. There's really a number of factors that contribute to that uncertainty. Those fluctuations can be attributed to weather patterns, load changes, project delays, outages, market conditions. There's just really a number of different factors that contribute to that. And it's a growing uncertainty. So just as kind of a snapshot for 2024 specifically, that band was about 13% of our total. So it's a pretty significant amount of uncertainty that we need to manage, and it becomes more challenging the more resources that we have. Next slide. So the compliance period methodology is really a concept that's been around for many, many years. We have to adhere to it already as part of the RPS program. And essentially what it is a period of 3 to 4 years that have fixed target, but because compliance isn't based on an individual year, it provides flexibility for management of those variable resources over time. So for example, 1 year you might have a really great water year, lots of hydro production. You might have projects that are expected to come online on time. There's no outages. You have a great generation year, and you could be followed the next year or maybe even a couple years later with a drought year. Maybe there's a natural disaster or wildfires or outages at particular resources that contribute to lower generation. But if you have excess in one year and a shortage in another, compliance periods really allow for managing that generation fluctuation from those resources with more flexibility over a longer period of time. AVA can really apply a similar approach here with 3 to 4 year procurement periods. And what you're seeing on the right here is the RPS compliance period. So it's over a 20-year time frame that this is being shown. Some of those periods have 4 years, like the one we just ended. Some of them have 3 years, but you can see the increasing procurement of GHG-free resources over time. Kind of one note is that beyond 2030, there'll be an ongoing 3-year compliance period requirement for all LSCs. So there won't be that fluctuation in the 4 year or 3 years. And also the target is supposed to be maintained at 60%, at least currently. It did definitely change, but that's where it stands right now. Next slide. So this is just to provide a visual of how a compliance period can really benefit an LSC. So just as a comparison, I've got PG&E alongside AVA, and you'll see the eligible renewables for each year of compliance period 4, kind of right under the blue years for both PG&E and AVA. On the AVA side, the renewables are very close to what our annual targets have been. 2024, there's definitely some excess there, but the other years are very close. If you look at PG&E, you can see 2021 is more than double what they had in 2024. And certainly there's lower pricing, maybe more stability in the market than in 2024, but really the compliance period allows for flexibility to manage those fluctuations over time. The end of 2024, the RPS target was actually at 44%, and you'll see that they're lower there also. So note that's because in terms of RPS, in addition to the flexibility that a compliance period provides, the RPS program also has an additional benefit of banking, which is where an LSC can use excess generation from a different compliance period and apply it to the requirements in the future to meet those state targets. Next slide. So this is just a little bit more on some of the benefits. We talked a little bit about factors like energy availability, but also gives flexibility with contract availability and project development timelines. So for example, you might have a project that is slated to come online in October of a particular year. And if that project is delayed, the generation that you've been depending on for the last quarter of the year is then pushed out to the following year. You may be stuck in a situation where you're scrambling, maybe subject to volatility in the market. A compliance period really allows you the flexibility to be able to make that up, when it makes more sense, and not be subject to the market. So the last slide, we were looking at the 4 years of compliance period 4. This visual is really just focused in on the last year, which is 2024 specifically. So this is the 2024 power content. You can see AVA's total renewables large hydro is 96%. But the renewables portion right there is almost 62%. You can see again, PG&E there at 23. They're utilizing those bank directs to meet the RPS compliance obligation for 2024. Another note here is that power content for PG&E will likely change significantly. The Diablo Canyon nuclear allocation started in 2025, and so that nuclear percentage, which is so high on theirs, is very likely to be lowered on the 2025 power content label. And also another flag is that the hourly emissions accounting, which is slated to be implemented in 2028, will also impact power content and procurement needs and costs. But just a note there. Next slide. Some considerations while we're going into the scenarios, just to kind of keep in mind. So one is, I just mentioned the 2028 24-hour emissions accounting methodology is expected to be implemented. So there's potential that implementation timeframe could be delayed, but that's where it's slated for currently. A lot of details are still uncertain about how that will play out, but you did take that into consideration. Alignment with RPS, there's kind of pros and cons with aligning a compliance period for AVA with RPS or staggering it. Historically, procurement in the last year of an RPS compliance period is more expensive due to constrained supply. Staggering the compliance period with RPS could give us additional flexibility. So for example, if we're utilizing active procurement from 24 through 2027, it would have a staggered on the front end and be in alignment on the back end. Staggering could also pose additional challenges depending on timing. So if the first year was aligned with the last year in our RPS period, it could impact costs for procurement. Just things to keep in consideration. Also, large hydro and nuclear currently have been sourced through allocations from PG&E. Large hydro specifically is subject to change there. That's a kind of an annual allocation. So, and then finally, with AVA's 100% clean target goal that starts in 2030, there's not really a clear mechanism right now to balance procurement beyond 2030 because we'll already be at 100%. So this is definitely gives us some flexibility over the next several years, but something to keep in mind for the future. All right, so we're going to go through 3 different scenarios here. The first 2 are actually very similar. The main difference between them is the tail end. So this first one goes 24 through 26, and the second one is 24 through 27. I just want to flag the board adjusted procurement target, the green line, which is directly below the years there. There's no proposed change to that. All those targets remain the same. There's nothing that would be changed in this methodology that would impact the targets. So we're really just talking about flexibility to help us meet those targets. So
Nobody panic.
there we go. So again, this first period covers 3 years, 24 through 26. The current RPS compliance period just started in 2025 and goes through 27. So this particular scenario is staggered with RPS periods. It would continue with a 3-year compliance period 2 and then a 3-year compliance period 3 following. Again, the 2028 new emissions methodology implementation would fall in the middle of a compliance period with this scenario because that's expected to be in 2028. Next scenario would be starting in, or the next period in this scenario would be at 2027. This estimated to have higher immediate savings in 25 and 26. That's just kind of depends on how that excess procurement is applied. There's 15% from 2024. In this example here, we have it split 50-50. It's probably unlikely that it would land that way, but just for purposes of the presentation, making it easy to follow, I have it split 50-50 there, but next slide. Scenario 2, again, is very similar to scenario 1. And again, no changes to the procurement targets. The main difference between the 2 is, again, adding that extra year on here. So rather than a 3-year period, this is a 4-year period. Some of the benefits we see with this is, one, it aligns with the 2028 new emissions methodology implementation, which would be at the start of a new compliance period. Having that at the start rather than in the middle, like in scenario 1, gives us a little more time to adjust to whatever their new requirements are. This also aligns with RPS periods on the back end. So the second compliance period would align with RPS moving forward. And it allows us to utilize excess procurement from 2024 to reduce procurement costs in 2025, 26, potentially 2027. What's not super clear here is, again, that those percentages, there's no reason why we couldn't apply 7.5% in 25 and 26 or some other percentage here. It's really just about having flexibility that makes when it makes the most sense with the market and with our budget and how to apply that. Next slide is scenario 3. So this one is also a 3-year compliance period. It's a little bit different than the other 2 in that it completely aligns with RPS. One of the disadvantages of this is that it doesn't have any immediate savings and reduced procurement costs because we're not utilizing any of the excess procurement from 2024. But it is aligned with RPS, so 2025 through 27 on the front and the back end. And it also aligns with the 2028 new emissions methodology implementation that we expect to be coming in 2028. So I guess a couple notes. The actual procurement levels have and will continue to be reported in AVA's annual power content label. So there's no change there. again, no change to the targets. Multi-period averages will be reported in the annual budget setting process. And there's actually another, or we looked at other scenarios also. There was a suggestion that came up actually in the FAP to have a rolling compliance period. These three that we've shown here are actually seem to make the most sense and feel like would be the best fit for procurement and for the market. And I think that's the last slide. Yeah. So let's open it up for questions.
Apologize. Before we go to questions, could you just clarify what staff recommendation is since you presented the three scenarios? I've read it in the staff report, but maybe you state it.
Oh, sure. Yeah. The recommendation from the FAP was in alignment with the staff recommendation, and that was with compliance or with the scenario 2.
24 through 27, 28 through 30. So that was scenario 2. Okay. All right. So there we go. Questions by members in the room? Yes. Berkeley.
Yeah, thank you so much for the presentation. First of all, can you just clarify when we're talking about savings, is that you're talking about just like PG&E, maybe transferring RECs to us, or what, like, what is the genesis of the savings?
The savings really are coming from the excess in procurement in 2024. So if we can have a wider range of time to hit those targets, we can use that excess procurement and apply it to future years and still hit our average, average targets. So I don't know if Adrian, could you go back to scenario 2? Thank you. Yeah. So the targets on the green line, if you look at the line just below that, has our actuals. So for 2024 specifically, we were at 96%, which is 15% over. We definitely hit our target that year. But if we were able to apply that excess procurement to 2025 and 2026 and 27, however we applied it, we'd still be able to meet those board approved targets on the top there, but we would be procuring less for a subsequent year because we would be applying that excess. Does that answer your question?
Okay, yeah. So this is purely internal to
Yes.
us.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with PG&E. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Curious if under considerations, the new 24/7 emissions accounting methodology, is that COO Cheng, I think you may have referred to this as pending legislation in the past, or can you just remind me, is this already in place and something we're headed towards?
It is not pending legislation. It is assumed to be moving forward and implemented in 2028, I believe, which is, I think you might have highlighted, but that's also a benefit of the scenario 2 recommendation is we're under one emissions accounting regime through 27. So that's the first compliance period that we're suggesting here. And then in 2028, we anticipate there to be a change in the emissions accounting methodology. So that's the slated timeframe right now. There are a lot of details that are still not worked through or proposed by the CEC or CPUC on what that exactly looks like. Or how to sort of effectuate that from an operational perspective. So there's a lot of details to still work through, but that is the expectation that will happen. Yeah.
Okay, and I think my last question is, last year a majority of us voted to procure nuclear credits or attributes. And I'm curious how or when that would be anticipated to show up and how it may impact our RPS in the out years.
Yeah, you're referring to a decision that the board made to accept a free allocation of GHG-free nuclear attributes from Diablo Canyon by way of PG&E, and that's going to be in place starting this year. So that didn't show up at all in 2024. That will show up for 2025's power content label, but that of course won't get reported on until 2026.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any additional questions by members in the room at this time? Yes, Hayward?
Thank you. Thank you, Director Terry. You asked my question. I just wanted to clarify. So the savings really isn't an actual savings. It's that it's just spread over time. So then we can sort of report
Yeah.
more savings over this. in
It's
this scenario
savings
period.
relative to sort of our run rate, sort of budgeting process.
Okay.
It's not relative to PG&E
Okay.
or anything else. As a-
Okay,
as a
thank you.
benchmark.
Yeah, and thank you for asking that because that was sort of, thank you.
Okay, any additional questions by members in the room at this time? Yeah, Union City.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, this makes sense to me for the first compliance period, and then for the second one, I could see if we were over procuring in 2028 and or 2029, how that would impact 2030. But with the current targets, if those were to stay the same, we can't really under procure too much in the first 2 years, right? Because then you can't exceed 100% of the final. Okay,
Yeah,
just making
that
sure
is
I'm
correct.
understanding how these work. Okay, thank you, Chair.
Any additional questions by members in the room? San Leandro?
Two quick questions. I'm assuming these are simple averages, not weighted averages. And then the second question, setting aside matching the state definitions, do we also track carbon free or GHG free? Because I looked at, I saw biomass. It's labeled renewable, but it's not carbon free. So I'm just trying to think about, will we offline keep a separate calculation?
Well, absolutely. Yeah. There's different sources of different forms of reporting that we have. This is specific percentages. We have carbon emissions disclosures and reporting that we have. Yeah.
The last question really goes to the recommendation. I look at scenario 3 as in some ways a non-starter if we're talking about savings. Okay, so let's put that aside. Help me understand, as you thought between recommending 1, recommending 2, can you just revisit the why 2 versus 1?
Please.
Okay. So I think that the kind of two benefits that we see to scenario 2, one is the 2028 emissions methodology accounting implementation. So that's at least currently slated to start in 2028. And given the uncertainty with how that's going to roll out, and it gives us more time to really implement any changes that are going to come from that. Scenario 1 has that in the middle of the compliance period. So it doesn't really give us as much time to make adjustments, and we've already started to procure at that point. It's right in the middle. The second one is that scenario 2 is aligned with RPS, which in this case we see as a benefit. Again, historically the last year of a compliance period has been more expensive. And so in the first scenario, that leaves the first year of AVA's compliance period at the end of a RPS period, which could mean we either don't procure very much in the first year, or subject to higher volatility or market conditions that could impact the following years. So giving us kind of an alignment with RPS gives us kind of a little bit more visibility on where things are going to land.
Thank you.
Well, one point I just want to emphasize there, obviously one of those key benefits, as you mentioned, is that the new accounting methodology is going to be put in place in 2028. So if you have us go into 2026, then you're going to, the next compliance period is going to be partially one accounting methodology and partially another accounting methodology. That's going to be messy. And I just want to take this opportunity to emphasize this 24/7 emissions accounting methodology change is a big change. We've already seen one sort of change not that long ago, a few years ago, that sort of changed things up for us in terms of how you account for PCC2s and PCC3s. And that was meaningful, but not a dramatic change on our overall 2030 target. This change will require quite a bit of discussion as we understand what the implementation details are, and too early to say what those details will be. So it's premature to have that dialogue right now, but I do want to just sort of make sure that we understand and anticipate that this is going to be a very meaningful dialogue to really think about how do we continue to decarbonize under this very new framework that's going to have a lot of complexities from an implementation standpoint. We do not have systems from a regulatory perspective to track 24/7 emissions accounting today. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Any additional comments or questions, questions by members in the room at this time, and by any members online at this time? All right, seeing none. Are there any public comments or members of the public that would like to speak on item 13 in the room? Please approach the podium at this time. Seeing none online.
Yes. Jim Lutz, recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a quick question, and I think I know the answer, but this compliance period that you're talking about is just for reporting on whether you meet the internal AVA board targets, and it has nothing to do with the power content labels or the state RPS requirements. And I think that's what you're talking about, but I just wanted to confirm that. And that.
There are no further hands raised at this time.
Okay, any additional public comment at any members at a remote location? Seeing none, staff, do you want to just maybe answer that question from the public that we received, please?
That is correct. This is entirely, we're talking about AVA voluntary procurement targets. RPS compliance requirements are still in place. Obviously, they have a lot of consistency with what we're presenting, but we have to comply with those separate from this regardless.
Okay, so we've already had public comment. CAC, do you have any comments on this item?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. With that, bringing it back to the board, this is an action item. Scenario 2 is the staff recommended suggestion as well as our subcommittee. Looking for a motion.
San Leandro moves the staff recommendation.
Second.
Moved by San Leandro, seconded by Berkeley. Any further comments before we go for roll call vote by members in the room or members online? I'll just make a quick comment before roll call vote, which is, I know as we look at the road ahead, if you look at how AVA's done based on the presentation, we've been able to exceed our procurement over many historical years. The next 5 years, though, are going to be worth our mettle to hit these numbers. And putting the 24/7 emission methodology on top of it, I feel like the organization's ready for it, but it is interesting because I see that broad paintbrush or the arc. And I just want to point it out for those members or community members challenging us to do more. This shows we're gearing up to do it. So I hope we achieve all those goals. And with that, we have a motion made and seconded. Can we go ahead and have a roll call vote, please?
Great, thank you. Alameda County. Albany.
Yep.
Berkeley.
Aye.
Dublin.
Aye.
Hold on one second. Emeryville. Oh,
Aye.
thank you. Fremont.
Aye.
Hayward.
Aye.
Livermore. Newark.
Aye.
Oakland.
Aye.
San Leandro.
Aye.
Tracy.
Aye.
Union City.
Aye.
Pleasanton.
Aye.
Motion's approved.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That concludes item 13. We'll proceed to item 14. Rate stabilization policy and allocation. This is an informational item presented by Howard and Rusty, I believe.
Rusty online is going to take this.
Yeah. Hey, greetings, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right, great. Before we get into the slides, we have discussed this topic some recently, including with reserves information we presented earlier in the spring, and also some information included last month during the budget presentation. So tonight we want to revisit our rate stabilization fund and policy. We do intend to follow up later this fall with some recommended actions. So this will help set the groundwork for you to consider our recommendation later this fall. To start, let's go to the first slide and review just a little bit of background on AVA's rate stabilization policy. In 2020, AVA's board approved Resolution R 2020-26, creating a GASB 62 budget stabilizing fund to allow AVA to defer and allocate surplus revenues during strong fiscal years for future utilization during more challenging periods. Since then, the fund has primarily been maintained to allow matching of timing for on-bill credits and the solar and storage incentive program. However, there are still funds available, which you may recall last month were part of balancing the budget that was approved. Next slide. Just a little bit on GASB 62. That's the accounting rule that allows for deferring of surplus revenues from prosperous periods to be realized in future time periods. Any deferred revenues will reduce net position by an equal amount in the deferred period and then increase the net position by that equal amount in the period in the future that you want to realize those revenues. Importantly, this is different than the treatment of reserve funds, as those reside on the balance sheet as cash amounts from already accrued and realized revenues. And typically, rate stabilization funds, or RSFs, are used for specific purposes or to smooth rates, maybe 1 to 2 times per decade. So somewhat of a rainy day fund. And as we all know, we could be looking at a couple of challenging budget years. So this is a tool to get us through those types of budget cycles. Next slide. The benefits from having an RSF are important to AVA and its customers. Stabilizing rates and protecting the value proposition is important to us and the board. Counterparties also view it as a credit positive and can provide more favorable terms and covenants within our agreements. The RSF is part of our financial resource waterfall, and that supports our strong A rating. It is the second level of resources after working capital, but before using our credit facility or reserves, and helps smooth out cash flow during the challenging budget years. Next slide. This slide should look familiar. It was included in the budget presentation last month and shows the history and uses of the fund. We mentioned the use of deferred revenues to balance our budget last month. As you recall, the current balance is $57 million, with $32 million set aside specifically for rate stabilization. And based on the strong forecasted surplus, staff did propose using a portion of it to balance the budget that was projected to be in deficit for the next fiscal year, or the one we are currently in. As we get through the audit this fall, we will return with a recommended allocation. It's estimated to be a little more than 100 million, and we want to have that available for this fiscal year and also have remaining funds available for the 26-27 year due to the budgetary pressure from PCIA reform. Next slide. We thought it prudent to understand how our current policy and practices compare to others. So staff surveyed 22 public agencies, many of which are CCAs and public utilities, as they're listed out to the right. We wanted to discover how many have an RSF and how it integrates with their reserves. And we also compared fund sizing and how other similar utilities and CCAs best utilize as far as triggers and discretion for utilizing the RSF. Next slide. So here are some results of the survey. 27% have a separately outlined RSF policy. As far as sizing, something AVA doesn't have in its policy as of yet. 4 respondents set RSF levels as a percent of O&M costs, with the average being about 15%. 2 other respondents set the RSF as a percent of expected gross revenues, and both of those use 20% of gross revenues for their level. 41% mentioned an operating reserve policy for rate stability, but did not have its distinctively separate fund or policy or RSF. Almost 3/4 of respondents discussed using reserves for rate stability, all of which had similar withdrawal restrictions as the operating reserves. And 8 of those 15 are similar to AVA in that the utilization is at the CEO's discretion, while 4 others require board approval and 3 didn't specify. Interestingly, 1 entity grants the CEO unlimited use of reserves to maintain the value proposition to PG&E as long as days cash did not fall below 90 days. So we can go on to the next slide. And so what we concluded is, while we're not exactly alike in all elements, AVA's RSF policy is fairly in line with the industry norms, playing a vital role in rate stability. And the one item we noted was the target funding levels that we currently don't have, so is something we are considering. Maintaining a portion of our financial resources that is targeted for rate stability that's further up in the priority for utilization is consistent with how many utilities and CCAs view as beneficial to having an RSF. So as far as next steps, as mentioned, when we get through our audit and determine a recommendation for the allocation for this past fiscal year, we will also be looking to make any updates to the RSF policy along with recommended allocations, and that should be in the September-October timeframe. And then on to the last slide, just a quick preview. I want to leave you with some of the potential uses for the surplus. As mentioned, with the forecast surplus to be approximately 100 million. Using the surplus as a rate stabilizing resource may make some good sense with the next couple of budget cycles. In the table, we show the approved budget from the last fiscal year in which we set aside funds and did use those for solar and storage incentives and on-bill credits, but then also had planned to allocate any remaining surplus to reserves, which is about 73 million of the 102 million forecast at year end. Potentially modifying that allocation to defer more into the RSF as much as 100% is something we are considering. You can see those other two scenarios below. The first with 100% going to the rate stabilization fund, and that increases the deferred funds to 134 million. And then we have an 80% scenario with RSF funds increasing to 114 million. And I do see, or I did notice just prior to the presentation, there is an error in the table. That line, the reserves would be 351 million in the 80-20 scenario. Apologies on the copy paste into that next column. So we could split it into other ratios, but feel like most, if not all, should be going into the rate stabilizing fund. That seems prudent given PCIA reform. But along with any other allocation change, we will consider recommended changes such as the target funding levels. And from our survey, we thought a good target would be 15 to 20% of costs or revenues. We are still considering that. Just in closing, just to point out, the RSF really should be complementary to the other resources in the financial waterfall. So this funding level increase may allow for us to refine our reserve targets in the future as well. Since externally creditors and rating agencies will look at all resources together to understand a full liquidity picture for AVA. But the overarching goal of deferring revenues for us to provide rate stability to our customers as we work through PCI reform is going to be the goal of changing the policy. So with that, I'll open it up to questions and discussion.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, Howard and I were chatting, quick question on the side there. Okay, so with that, do we have questions by members in the room related to item 14? Hayward.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Okay, and trying to sort of understand all of it. Just so are we feeling like if we go with 100% allocation to RSF, that the reserve is big enough right now? Our priority is rate stabilization. Is that the idea? So that potentially we just let the reserve balance build by interest and not by allocating any of the 100 million potential budget surplus. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah, we feel like that's been built up to a healthy level. That's not to say it's met the target level.
Yeah, what is the target? I couldn't remember what that.
It's and we did a survey of this. We'll refresh on that perhaps when we bring back in September, but we did a separate item that was very comparable to this benchmarking with the reserve fund and kind of what the ranges were there. We were in line with the kind of the norm, the median, if you will. The target is 50% with a range of 25 to 75%. And we are below 50% at this stage. Obviously, that can change as we've seen variability in energy costs and things like that year to year.
Okay.
But that's roughly where we're at.
So when that comes back, the recommendation, one of these, there'll be a stronger staff recommendation at that point as far as what the
yes,
what
we would come
percentage.
forward with a very explicit recommendation for what we propose. Yeah.
Thank you. That's all.
Okay, and I'll just mention that if there's additional scenarios that you would like to be presented during the comments section, staff would probably like to hear about that now so they could evaluate that for potential options when they bring it back. So the informational item now. Questions? Alameda County.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. What
is currently happening with our reserves fund? Are those held in an investment account or just wanting to know, because that's a
Yes.
significant amount of money. And do we
Yeah,
know,
those are currently separate or held separately in an investment account.
okay, and what's the average
Return.
return? Yes, sorry, I'm really tired. I didn't even think of what I wanted. Thank you.
Yeah, I think our most recent returns were somewhere around 3.5% to 4% for the past fiscal year.
Okay, so I appreciate the option of 100% or 80%, but just want to crunch the numbers and see what 90% looks like. And then are we anticipating having to finance any major projects? Like when would like our credit rating come into play? Let's just say in the next 2 to 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, at this time, we don't have plans to finance anything. I do think that is something we would like to explore a little bit further. And I think when that time comes, having reserves will be important because as you develop a bond indenture and having reserves and coverage levels that support strong bond ratings will be really important to keep the costs low to the debt that we issue.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any additional questions by members in the room at this time related to item 14? Dublin.
Thank you. Actually, a question or just a question for Executive Cheng. On staff report, page 3, I fully understand that we still have RSF policy to write and formulate. That's one of the next steps. Is that correct?
One of the next steps is your question, what are we going to do with the policy itself?
The next step is to write the policy, correct?
We actually have a written policy,
Okay.
but I think there can be more details provided. That, for example, I think Rusty mentioned, we don't have a funding target specified in that policy. We have one in our reserve policy, but not in our budget stabilization policy. So there are those types of details. I think we would probably seek to amend that policy in the next meeting when we are seeking action. So we're likely going to both propose an updated policy in addition to a potential proposal to adjust the surplus allocation. So 2 separate resolutions, 2 related but separate sort of actions that we'd be seeking. That's, of course, pending some final research we're going to do over the next couple of months to make some of those adjustments.
Okay, I understand. And then if I may recommend, if you don't already have it in that policy, which we will see eventually, according to the paragraph, there's no mention of controls. So will your policy include controls so that things are done the right way?
Absolutely. And obviously that policy is public. And I think we've presented it in the past. So it is available. We're not trying, we just didn't take the time tonight to present on that policy itself, but we'll present on the existing policy. And of course, as we would typically do, any red lines and changes specific to what we would propose in terms of elaborating on and additional details. We will also plan to likely bring that in front of FAP subcommittee. So that would be an opportunity to review that on an informational basis to see if that sort of meets what you had in mind in terms of controls and such. But certainly that's on our mind as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Hayward, do you have a follow-up question?
Just a quick follow-up question. I think you triggered some. So are you using budget stabilization fund, rent stabilization fund interchangeably? Because like the acronym is used RSF, but then you talk about budget. I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing.
Yes,
Okay.
and that may be a recommended change we make is the nomenclature. So we have a little bit more standardization, but appreciate that that's not the clearest that we're presenting it. Yes.
But just to make sure we have a reserves that are separate from all of them. Yeah. Okay. Any additional questions by members of the room? Oh, San Leandro.
Sorry, just really quickly, I know Rusty, you made a comment about a typo, and I think as I was reading through it, I have it. So in the 80-20 scenario, the reserve amount's 351 something? 351 million?
Yeah, so I think that's
perfect.
Above, it'd be 351 instead of 20. That's just the same
Perfect.
contribution.
Thank you.
Yes.
And then the supervisor, Director Marquez, was asking about a 90% scenario. I'm just assuming that it would be approximately halfway between 134.6 and 144.
Yes.
About
Yes.
124 ballpark, 124 million.
She said 90%.
Yeah, so it'd be just a 10 million in reserves. Yeah.
Just to be clear, our current forecasted surplus is right around $100 million. So that simplifies the math. 90% is about
That's-
90 million would go
that's
to rate
perfect.
stabilization, 10 million
Okay.
reserves. Yeah.
want to get the round numbers right. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Any additional questions by members in the room? All right. Members online, any clarifying questions at this time? Seeing none, we'll go to public comment on item number 14, rate stabilization policy. If you'd like to speak on this as a matter of the member of the public, and you're in the room, please approach the podium at this time. Yep. Welcome. In 2 minutes, please.
Good afternoon, good evening, rather. I just want to ask a clarification question. As I understand it, are we eliminating the customer credits?
We have to provide you your time until, do you have any other questions or public comment until you're?
Well, I just wanted to, clarify, and are we looking more towards stabilizing the actual rate as opposed to giving, credits?
Yeah, I'll take chair's prerogative. That is exactly what staff is considering to suggest to us.
Okay.
And they're looking at bringing it back in September as an option for the board to fully evaluate.
Okay, so we can keep the rate.
Rate stabilization as a priority over potentially bill credits or additional solar and storage incentives.
Okay, that's what I needed. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, any additional public comment online?
There are no hands raised, so.
And at any satellite location? Seeing none, we'll close public comment and bring it back to the board. This is an informational item. I lost my place, sorry. So if there's any further comments for any additional scenarios that you would like to see presented at the future or math done, we've heard the 90% option. So Union City, please.
Thank you. I think Rusty mentioned this at the end of his presentation, but would love to see consideration alongside if there should be any changes to the reserve policy at the same time. And if there aren't, just the rationale. So for example, if the credit rating agencies look at all available funds, then do we want the 50% target to be inclusive of both the reserves and the budget or rate stabilization fund? And then that way, when we're contributing a bunch of money potentially this year to the rate stabilization fund, then we're actually getting close to that target too. And maybe that doesn't make sense because we're actually going to be planning to withdraw from it, but then we could include a sentence, explaining that that was the rationale for why we're not going to adjust the reserve policy. So that would be my only request. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Berkeley?
Thank you. Yeah, I would actually, based on that last, guess the penultimate comment, it would be helpful, I think, I know we spent a lot of time talking about rate stabilization fund percentages and less so the elimination of solar and storage incentives and customer credits. So just kind of an understanding of maybe a sensitivity analysis around what that would do would be helpful in what comes back to us, at least for me.
Can I ask clarification? When you say a sensitivity analysis, are you talking about more scenarios, or are you talking about specific to the bill credit element? Or I just want to make sure we're running what you're asking for.
I'm particularly interested in the bill credit element. But I also I want to get a appreciation of, let's say it's not really eliminating the incentives or the credits. It's just we're not contributing towards further credits or incentives for the future year, but essentially what the implications would be of that.
Yeah, I'll just quickly clarify that we do have existing solar and storage incentives. So this is an addition that we're contemplating not allocating. And on the on-bill credits, we do not currently have funds slated for on-bill credits. That is typically done via the surplus. So that's what we're contemplating. I'm just to reiterate or to confirm, I think we'll look at that $10 million allocation towards on-bill credits and illustrate sort of what that would actually translate to in terms of bill savings for individual customers. That's what that sort of request was.
Okay,
thank you.
And if I may, I'll just maybe add on to Berkeley. When we did bill credits this last time, we enhanced them. We had a whole conversation about enhancing them over maybe historical practice. And I think that maybe some of those elements might be helpful to that conversation. Okay, other comments by members in the room at this time related to item number 14? I keep losing my place. See none. Any comments by members online at this time? Okay, I'll just add mine, which is I would like there was a comment about the sensitivity around the reserve policy. I want to just highlight that as we bring on new territory and we're having new customers, that has been a challenge to bring our overall reserve percentage down. And we've been trying to be very careful or conscientious of that. So with that, the new regulations, I do think that has to be an element of the conversation for how much to allocate between the two from my perspective. So make sure we do see this and we try to thread that needle. Okay. Any further comments before Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you very much. CAC, did you have any comments on item 14?
No, thank you for asking.
Oh, and thank you for reminding me, Alameda County. Okay, with that, we'll close out item number 14. We're moving to item number 15. The Sunrise Power Purchase Agreement and Scarlet 3 Energy Storage Agreement. This is like Eagle 3 or something. Action item presented by staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Thank you. My name is Joni Brook. I'm a manager.
Joni, will you just lift the mic a little bit? Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yep,
Okay.
better. Thank you.
My name is Joni Brook. I'm a manager on our Power Resources team, managing our long-term agreements. And I come to the board tonight seeking approval for to finish negotiations and execute a package of long-term power purchase and energy storage agreements. Next slide, please. So the first of these agreements is the Sunrisa project. It is a 200 megawatt solar and 184 megawatt battery storage project. The second set of agreements is for Scarlet 3. This is an expansion of Ava's existing Scarlet 1 storage capacity. It would add 70 megawatts of 4-hour battery storage to the existing 30 megawatts of operational storage on our Scarlet 1 project. And both of these projects were developed by EDP Renewables North America and were offered to Ava bilaterally. Could you go to the next slide, please? So as you're all aware, renewable development projects are navigating some headwinds in the current market. These include expiring state level property tax exemptions, new deadlines and obligations to qualify for performance tax credits and incentive tax credits. Sorry, production tax credits and incentive tax credits. I said it wrong twice in a row. Production tax credits and
It's Monday.
Investment tax credits. So tax credits. And of course, a lot of uncertainty around tariff exposures. Ava has previously reported to this board that we've seen a steady increase in the cost of power purchase agreements for generation and storage projects over the previous years. And with these recent policy changes and uncertainty, we do, anticipate that trend would continue into future years. These projects that were brought to Ava by EDP and are being presented tonight, the developer has mitigated many of these impacts, but they have also asked Ava to share in some of the exposures to the more unknowable, unforeseen cost impacts related to tariffs or tax change in law events that could happen in the future. Next slide, please. So I want to provide a brief introduction to EDPR. They are very familiar to Ava. We have two projects with them currently, Scarlet 1 and Scarlet 2. Scarlet 1 was actually, I think, the second long-term power purchase agreement that Ava signed and added to our portfolio in the early days of our agency. And as you can see, EDP has a large portfolio of projects in the United States and several projects, active projects with California CCAs. Next slide, please. So getting into some details on first the Sunrisa Solar and Storage Project. As mentioned, this is a very large facility. It is located in Fresno County. It's 200 megawatts of solar and 184 megawatts of storage for a term of up to 20 years. The agreement will include the full suite of generation and storage products and will be constructed using union labor. The guaranteed commercial operation date is in June of 2027, but the project is anticipating accelerating that date to come online early to secure those California property tax exemption opportunities. And development progress at this point is far enough along that EDP does feel that they're safe harbored against some of the known immediate deadlines for those tax credits, the federal tax credits. But this agreement, we have engaged with talks with EDP that include cost sharing for future unknowable impacts that might be caused by tariff changes or changes in law. Tonight, Ava is seeking approval from the board to finish negotiating and signing a combined solar plus storage power purchase agreement in the coming weeks. And that is critical to kind of lock in this contract with the developer so that they can move forward with their next immediate critical path activities and keep the project on schedule to maintain those deadlines and secure those tax credits. But because this project is so large and the financing is going to be complex, we are also seeking approval to do step 2, which would be separating that single power purchase agreement into 2 standalone agreements, a solar power purchase agreement and a energy storage agreement. And that is just because that separation is going to be complicated. We want to make sure we take our time with that, but it would maintain all the same terms and obligations in this original power purchase agreement we're negotiating right now. And it would give the developer some risk mitigation options when financing this project. Can we go to the next slide? Thank you. The Scarlet 3 project is a 70 megawatt 4-hour battery storage project. This is going to be include the full suite of storage products. That includes charging, discharging, resource adequacy, and ancillary services. It is an expansion of our Scarlet 1 site. Like Sunrisa, this will be constructed using union labor. It will have a guaranteed commercial operation date in 2027, but with the target of coming online early, again, to secure those property tax exemptions. And when it comes online, the combined project of Scarlet 3, the 70 megawatts additional storage of Scarlet 3, and the existing operational capacity at Scarlet 1, we will have a 100 megawatt solar plus 100 megawatt storage project. That matching generation and storage sizing is very advantageous to Ava. It gives us added value and flexibility in our portfolio. So before the board is the approval to negotiate and execute the energy storage agreement for Scarlet 3, as well as an administrative amendment to Scarlet 1 to kind of address the components of this expansion. And for clarification, I just want to note, we currently have a Scarlet 3 options contract for resource adequacy products only. By moving forward with this Scarlet 3 project as presented today, it would supersede that resource adequacy only agreement. I think that is the end of the slides, and make myself available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. All right. With that, do we have any questions by members in the room at this time related to item 15? Hayward, I like how you moved the mic away and there's no one sitting next to you, too.
Well, in
by the
case
way.
I'm like
Very
munching or
polite of
something
you.
over here. I don't want everyone to hear me chewing. I was just curious, you know, I feel like we've talked in the past about that there's this sort of like flood of solar and so solar was hard to unload, but is this not an issue because this has the adequate storage with the project?
In general, the storage obviously serves as a really meaningful hedge for that risk that you're pointing to in terms of the significant solar penetration that we have in California, and at times solar curtailment because it's actually not necessary. We still carry general risk within our portfolio, and even with these projects with significant battery sizing, it's not to say that it totally mitigates that risk, so that goes to zero, but obviously is a very meaningful mitigation on that risk.
Okay, I know, and I should probably be directing it to you, but because you're like right around the time. Sorry.
Feel free to
Thank you.
correct me,
Thank you for the
Joni, when I'm
Spot
wrong.
on. And then, so along the same lines, like with, say, Scarlet 1 and now to Scarlet 3, does technology change so that, like, you know, the efficiency of the solar panels in Scarlet 1 isn't as great as Scarlet 3? So is it sort of one for one as far as when we're doubling up storage?
So the technology at Scarlet 1 specifically, the battery technology has changed, where there's this expansion would be a new battery chemistry and a different manufacturer, but you know, that impacts design elements, sizing, like physical, like square footage, kind of safety protocols, fire protocols. For AVA's purposes, we treat them very similarly in the way that we would, you know, interact and schedule these resources.
Okay. And then I guess the one thing I was wondering is, based on, you know, there was the letter from the community member, Jim Lutz, about sort of solar and the cost of solar going down and what that means for our potential investment in solar projects. Can you sort of maybe help me understand that letter based on what we're doing with procuring new solar projects?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just note the cost of solar is not going down right now. And given some of the headwinds, it's, you know, we're in a very uncertain environment, so I don't want to make predictions, but it's not strongly pointing in that direction. Unfortunately, we've been at a rising cost solar environment. With that said, these are, you know, all of our agreements, our long-term agreements are 10, 15, 20, 25-year agreements. So it's very unpredictable where pricing will be. Our goal really is to cost average our portfolio over time. That's a very disciplined approach so that we do not have, you know, overly significant concentrations in one period of time, because we do not believe that we can beat the market and bet on what is the best time to go procure energy. We want to look at our portfolio and our broader long-term needs and really space out those procurements so we can be in different parts of the cycle and get the benefit where there are cost reductions in the future, but at the same time, you know, where we see something that we view to be somewhat advantageous given where we sit today and some of those headwinds right in front of us, we would say, okay, let's take a little bit of a larger bite here without going too far.
Okay. And then I'm going to, so I guess when we do a project, we wouldn't be buying just solar projects and money. It would always come with storage. Is that right?
Historically, we have done some solar only projects. Those were on the earlier vintages of our projects. Some of those were, they were hub settled as opposed to basis settled, so that there's different risk mitigants there. I think today we would look to have storage on all of those projects. That would be prudent. That's not to say that that's a formal policy that we would want to make, but I think we always want to look at that type of risk and how to mitigate that risk, and storage is the best way to mitigate that sort of curtailment and basis risk that we see today.
Yeah, which is understandable. So and then my last question is, it's understandable they want to share the tariff risk. Do we even understand what that liability is? So what that might be?
Our sharing of that tariff risk comes with a clear cap. And so you know, have evaluated the liability up to that contractual cap.
Okay. All right. So all right. Thank you. That's all.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any additional questions on item 15 by members in the room? Stanley, Andrew?
Two quick questions. First, when I see the power purchase agreements combined with battery storage, I generally see numbers that match in terms of megawatts. 100 megawatts of power production match with 100 megawatts times 4 hours of availability. This time I see that it's close. It's 90%. If you can tell me a little bit about why the delta.
Yeah, that has to do with how the project, the study results of the project, they have interconnection capacity. They're allowed to put up to 100 megawatts onto the grid at the point of their interconnection. The grid can accommodate that size. But the deliverability of this, the resource adequacy benefits that we get from the project are limited at 184 megawatts. And so they sized the storage, which is where those resource adequacy benefits are tied to the cap of that size.
Thank you.
Okay. Any additional questions by members in the room at this time? Any questions by members online at this time related to item 15? Seeing none, we'll go to public comment. If you would like to speak on item 15 and you are in the room, please approach the podium at this time. Seeing none online.
Yes, thank you. Alita Dupree, recognized for 2 minutes.
Thanks again to the chair. Alita Dupree for the record, she and her with Team Folds. This is very important work. It's good work. And we want to move forward with this deliberately. The storage component is absolutely essential. I really see a trend of solar plus storage hybrid installations because, as is mentioned often, about the curtailment of solar energy that happens in the middle of the day in what you call the shoulder months, your cooler springtime and fall months when you don't have a lot of air conditioning or heating demand. This will provide more energy for our system. And yes, there are some headwinds happening with policy, especially at the federal level. But even given that uncertainty, it is renewables that I maintain are still able to offer us the most stable pricing going forward. And yes, as I heard him mention, solar is rising, and I'd certainly like to see where that's going. But really, this is, again, trading on this, the report. This is about being able to lock in a price for the long term, as opposed to betting on short-term possibilities. Hopefully, we can have more of these projects, but I say that even with these challenging headwinds, when it comes to renewables, I say do it anyway. And so I ask for you to approve this tonight so we can do it. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no further hands raised this time.
Okay. Any additional public comment at any satellite location? Seeing none, we'll close public comment and bring it back to the board. This is an action item with the recommendation in the staff report. Are there any additional comments or a motion? Hayward.
I'll move the item.
Thank you very much. Looking for a second? Seconded by Livermore. All right, motion made and seconded. Any further comments before we begin or do a roll call vote begin? Monday. All right, roll call vote, please.
Great, thank you very much. Alameda County.
Aye.
Albany.
Yep.
Berkeley.
Aye.
Dublin.
Aye.
Emeryville.
Aye.
Fremont.
Aye.
Hayward.
Aye.
Livermore.
Aye.
Newark.
Aye.
Oakland.
Aye.
San Leandro.
Aye.
Tracy.
Aye.
Union City.
Aye.
Pleasanton.
Aye.
Motion is approved.
Excellent. That completes item number 15. Thank you very much for the presentation. And with that, we're going to move to item 16, the chair and vice chair appointments. As mentioned at the prior meeting, it is my intent to be supplanted at this meeting, I guess is the way to say it. I think the rules work that a service chair until a new chair is appointed. That's why I say it like that. I'll start by saying thank you to the AVA team for the support and the arc that this organization is doing for the future. I do appreciate that. A couple of things I'll mention because I'm going out, it's easier to do, but traditionally the executive committee chair who serves as Ava's vice chair, advances, and the executive committee vice chair then advances to executive committee chair and Ava vice chair. So it's just a standard process, does not have to be like that. Member Anderson had a personal family matter or emergency, but did express her interest if the board felt so compelled to become chair. She's our current vice chair. And for informational purposes, but not implying anything, Member Gonzalez is our current executive committee vice chair. With that, we are looking for comments, questions, all in one. Yeah.
Can I make the motion?
Yeah, Union City.
Great. I will move that we appoint Member Anderson to be chair and that we appoint Member Gonzalez to be vice chair.
Second.
Motion made by Union City, seconded by Berkeley. Any comments or disparaging remarks that anyone would like to make?
Thank you.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Great. Thank you very much. Hold on one second. Alameda County.
Aye.
Albany.
Yep.
Berkeley.
Aye.
Dublin. Aye. Emeryville.
Aye.
Fremont.
Aye.
Hayward.
Aye.
Livermore. Newark.
Aye.
Oakland.
Aye.
San Leandro. Tracy.
Aye.
Union City.
Aye.
Pleasanton.
Aye.
Motion's affirmed.
Since the chair's not here.
So let me begin by thanking you for your service. Now, seriously, some serious service here. There's a lot to be grateful for in all that you've done. You've brought not only your professional experience in the realm of accounting, your business sense, but you've also brought an openness to balance. I am particularly grateful for that. And I know that lots of people can weigh in when it's time for board member, staff announcements, et cetera. So at this point, we are going on to that item number 17. Are there any board member comments or staff announcements at this time, including requests to place items on future agendas? Yes, Pleasanton.
Since I'm the outgoing chair, I've now been supplanted, I will mention that we are quorum challenged on a lot of our subcommittees. And that does affect the way we can conduct business and have process to vet things and to also work through the issues that are more complex that maybe we won't have the time to do at this larger meeting. So I've talked to the new incoming chair. I didn't talk so much with the vice chair, not knowing his thing, but about we probably need to tackle how we're going to handle that. Other organizations or JPAs have it where all the subcommittees meet one day. I don't even know if that's an option. We obviously are geographically different than other GPAs, but we as the board, staff is not going to tell you to attend. So I just encourage us to the professionalism that we all obviously are trying to serve and do our best, and we understand the conflicts, but we need to achieve quorum on some of these subcommittees. So I'll leave that.
Howard. I was saying CEO.
I just wanted to share a very personal thank you to former Chair Balch, Mayor Balch of Pleasanton. It's been both a real pleasure working closely with you over the last year. But in particular, I just want to thank you for your leadership for our agency and how you've invested your time into our agency, the appreciation you've shown to staff and the collaboration that you've had with me as my first year as CEO, of course, working very closely with you in as serving this agency, your leadership and the time you've invested to help think about how do we stabilize our governance has been really instrumental, and I think it's gone a long way. So I really appreciate that, and I also know that your extended service was somewhat unexpected. So as you stepped into that mayoral role and expanded your significant responsibilities for your city, it was a very significant contribution of your time to continue and remain on as our board chair. So just I think a real sign of the selflessness and the service that you provide, not just to Pleasanton, but Ava Community Energy. So I really, really appreciate that. A sincere thank you and gratitude towards you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you, Chair. I want to also commend former Chair. You stepped right in at a very pivotal time as we were transitioning to a new CEO, working on performance evaluations, many heavy items. And just as a public service announcement, having previously served on the Hayward City Council, I think it's really important that the public understand that the majority of the directors on this body, on many bodies, their elected position is not a full-time job. That is the case for Mayor Balch. He has a full-time job. He's the mayor. He sits on this body as well as other committees. So I think it's important that the public be aware of that. I think often they think for many of us, for some of us, it is our full-time job, but not for all of us. So I just think we need to keep that in mind when we place all these demands on our elected officials. But you have always met the need and been available and just a great thought partner. So just thank you for going above and beyond and for serving longer than a year. That's a huge accomplishment.
Thank
So
you.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. To success.
Okay. Not that I see the need for everyone to weigh in because we're going to have a big pat on the back as we go forward. Anybody online? Because I don't see any more hands in the room.
We don't.
Okay, this is perfect. Okay, well, again, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for being so selfless. So it is 8:10, and we're moving to adjournment with a recognition that our next meeting, September 17th, 2025 at 6 p.m.
We'll be here.
here at the Rotunda
We'll be here.
again.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. We are adjourned.
And you didn't even throw the gas?
You got it. Marquez was a little more interested in.